So good morning, good morning, good morning. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 So I'm doing a quick live. I've decided to keep them short because when I do these 2.5 hour lives, it's insane. It's unhinged. It's insane. So we're going to do some reading. We're going to read oracle cards and we're going to read We're going to read from the Gospel of Mary. And why am I doing the Gospel of Mary? Well, because people like, Wesley Huff, who's a biblical scholar, which right there is a red flag. Because you see, I'm more interested in a scholar that has the kind of curiosity that wants to uncover, excavate everything, not just the Bible and things that support the Bible. Because this book, I would say the Old Testament has done a lot of damage. The New Testament, thank God for Yeshua walking through and piercing through the darkness with his light in spite of the Council of Nicaea. So the Gospel of Mary has been, what is the word I want to say? Has been denigrated as false, kind of like the Shroud of Turin was first denigrated as false. And why am I talking about all these things? Because clearly I'm not Christian. It's probably because my foundation, being born and raised in Switzerland, Europe, and England, was Judeo-Christian training. Though I do admit that some of the stories I grew up about the Brahmins and India, les contes de l'Inde. I have the book in my shelf from when I was like 9 years old, les contes de l'Inde, which means the fairy tales of India. This is when, this is how they translated the Vedas, the fairy tales of India. But anyway, I had that, but it wasn't prominent because you've got to realize I'm living in Paris. I'm going into Notre Dame. I'm going up the staircases of Notre Dame made of slippery stones. I'm going to various churches and things of like that. I mean, that's the beginnings of my training on this planet, right? Is Judeo-Christian training. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And hey, Beth, thank you for being here. And so this is why I've been chasing Yeshua. Now, there was a book called, and there still is, you can look for it. It's called Jesus Lived in India. And in it, it talked about the Shroud of Turin, and NASA had carbon dated it, and blah, blah, blah. And they actually said, yeah, it's real. And then later on, they reneged it. And then again, they brought it back and they carbon dated it again. One of the reasons why it's always been a mystery and they were not able to deny its authenticity was a few things. I'll never forget that. And remember, I read this when I was 17. I probably read it 3 or 4 times back to back. One was that the weaving of the linen was so fine that it supported the fact that it was Nicodemus who donated the shroud for to wrap Yeshua in. Number one. Number two, there were pollens and petals and herbs in the linen that is particularly from Palestine. It's nowhere else on the planet. You know what I mean? And finally, the third aspect was that there was still crusted blood and sweat. And one of the premise of the book written by this scholar, again, I keep forgetting his name only because I don't prepare for these lives. I set up the live and I go, okay, let's go. And here I have the Gospel of Mary. So we're going to go with that. But, he said, corpses don't bleed or sweat. They definitely don't sweat because they're no longer, and if you've ever seen anyone pass, you know exactly that that's the truth. Everything stops, literally stops, boom, that's it. And so fluids can't escape. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I hope it does. And those of you who are nurses out there, you know better than me that truth of that, what I've just said. So that was one of the premises, okay? So we're going to read from the Gospel of Mary of Magdalena, translated by Jean-Yves Leloup, forward by Jacob Needleman. We'll do a little bit. I'm just going to open the page wherever, and we're going to just read. This is how I read sometimes. I read from a place of just, let's see what they have to say to us. Again, 2025 is coming up fast, thank God. It's a time of great abundance, of great power, of great meaning for you, and you need to get ready for what's to come, which is a beautiful change. Okay, I don't know what I'm reading. I've never read this book before, but let's begin. Walk forth the pure of heart. Yes, you shall see Elohim. To see the other, our vision must be emptied of presupposition and judgments. Hence, in order to see God, it is even more imperative that we embark on a long walk, one of distancing ourselves from our projections, even the most seductively beautiful, that we often take for spiritual experiences, even for an experience of God. But these have nothing to do with the divine reality, for they are all still much too bound up with our ego and its infantile dreams of omnipotence. Wow. The man is a craftsman of words. I don't know if this is actually the gospel or if it's been translated, but anyway, let's continue. We may know the attributes and qualities of being, but only the pure of heart can taste being as it is, without qualities, and in its true holiness, which is beyond all comparison. Walk forth, merciless ones. You shall receive mercy. Are those who are able to remain sensitive to the misery and suffering of others? The future belongs to the pure and gentle, not to the rigid purist of all our fundamentalists. If the latter have the purity of angels, they also have the pride of demons, like grand and petty inquisitors who shed blood in the name of purity, religion, faith, traditional values, or race. The greatest crime against humanity are always committed in the name of goodness and the need to preserve integrity and purity. We have yet to fulfill and appreciate the danger and delusion of purity without mercy. Wow. The pure of heart and the merciful are commanded to walk forth, because we can never have too much compassion for the challenge of understanding the suffering and misery of another. And we can never have a heart too pure and sensitive for the challenge of seeing another's true potential, for both forgiving everything and demanding everything of another. To understand all is to forgive all, as Plato said long ago. Did you hear that? To understand all is to forgive all. What a line. The more I know, the more I love. The more I love, the more I know, said St. Catherine of Siena a millennium ago. The more truly pure of heart I am, the more my heart sees, and the more merciful it is. And the more merciful it is, the more it sees, and the purer it becomes. We are, let's be honest, we are a society that constantly compares and judges. In fact, we compare ourselves to others, and we are not even merciful to ourselves. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Every day I use your background images as my phone wallpaper. So beautiful. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Wow, you made my day. That's awesome. So does that make sense? Okay, so this is kind of like a recipe for your own deliverance. All right, so let me repeat it again, because this is very important. The more truly pure of heart I am, the more my heart sees, and the more merciful it is. And the more merciful it is, the more it sees, and the purer it becomes. So really, what does it mean? Start with yourself. Be merciful to yourself. Be more merciful to yourself. The more you see yourself, the more you'll be able to give yourself compassion. And this is why I tell my clients to work with their little girl, little boy. Pull out a picture of you as a baby, and then pull out a picture of you when you had a really hard time. For me, it was 10 years old, really hard time. This was a very hard age for me. So that's the picture I have on my altar. The picture of me as a baby, which I can give a massive levels of mercy, compassion, and the one that went through something hard, which was when I was 10. And I'm able to give it compassion. I can actually separate myself and parent that little girl. That's what you guys need to do. And when you start doing that for yourself, then you can actually be more merciful to others, because once you stop judging yourself, like you can't compare yourself to some chick that's going to the gym 5 hours a day and that's her job 6 days a week. You can't do that. And why would you? And this idea of shaming oneself that, you're not tall, or you're not slim enough, or you're not in shape. It's very difficult. Because let me tell you something. There was a time, and I remember this very, very viscerally. There was a time when you bought a record and you didn't give a fuck what the person looked like. You didn't care until MTV came. And the what was it called? What is it called? Villi Manilli? I forgot what they were called. Anyway, beautiful guys. Don't get me wrong, absolutely stunning. But they were lip syncing like it was like it was a shock. But it destroyed those men because of the anger. But I remember there was a French singer called Nana Mouskouri. She looked like she was an amazing voice. She could she could sing in 7 languages. But she was plain. She had dark rimmed glasses and she was a plain Jane. But her voice was fucking amazing. But in the MTV generation, she would have never made it. And that's the problem. That's actually the problem. So if that's true in the music industry, for example, right? Then let me ask you, how hard are you on yourself? And I'm guilty. Trust me. That's been my life. When women had big, beautiful asses and thighs and this and that, and it was the Twiggy generation, right? It was the heroin chic generation. I'm not joking. That was a term. That was hell for women who had curves and beautiful bodies. Hell. So, and for men, I don't know. I can't really, all I know for men is it's always been about money. How much you have in the bank is what makes you valuable, handsome, beautiful. It's even talked about in Jane Austen's novels. Money. So when we move out of that consciousness into being merciful to ourselves, we're able to be merciful to each other. And the more merciful it is, the more it sees and the purer it becomes. I'm just requoting it. Let's begin. Let's continue. Walk forth, peacemaker. Yes, you shall be acclaimed sons of Elohim. Peace is the fruit of an artisan's work. It is the slowest and more patient way of walking. Peace cannot be commanded by throwing money at a problem. We just spoke of money. Okay, hang on. Peace cannot be commanded by throwing money at a problem, nor by overthrowing a government. Did you hear that? What are we trying to do? We're trying to go into 5D. And I spoke about it last night. I'll upload the video this morning. It is nothing less than the Son of Man and the Son of God being born within ourselves. Yeshua's earthly father was an artisan who taught him how to plane and polish the most difficult woods. This is not unrelated to the patience and love that the teacher needed in order to plane and polish souls so that they can reveal their beauty, thereby adapting better to other souls and fulfilling their true service. How can anyone say that this is not a valid book to read, which is called The Gospel of Mary of Magdalene, translated by Jean-Yves Leloup? And the reason I bought his version is because it's celebrated as the best version. Walk forth, those persecuted for justice' sake. Yes, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Walk forth when they insult and persecute you, accusing you of all sorts of crimes because of me. Be in joy and lightness, because your reward is great in heaven. Indeed, this is how the prophets who came before you were persecuted. It's interesting. I'm going to go back to this guy who's an influencer who is, I'm sure you know him. His handle is Harold is Fasting. Literally, Harold is Fasting. Kid you not. I'm going to see if I can find him again. I've been saving some of his videos, but this is a guy who's fasting for 40 days on water. And the hate from nutritionists and experts. And it's like, dude, if you don't have anything to say, leave the fucking guy alone. Stop, stitching his content and attacking that what he's doing is wrong, when the proof of the pudding is how good he's been looking. Yeshua is not saying, blessed are you, unhappy victims, be happy in your martyrdom. He is saying, do not let yourself be stopped by persecutions, slander, and all sorts of violence. Use these as a challenge, an opportunity for growing in consciousness and in love. Discover within yourself the same patience, passion that I found when faced by my adversaries. This is truly your opportunity to live the greatest of exercises, which is love of one's enemies. You will then discover within yourself that terrifying force of humble love, which is able to forgive them, for they not know what they do. Thus, you continue to teach your enemies not only with your words, but with your acts. If you're not pissing people off, you're not pushing the envelope. Because at some point, when you walk in your light, just your very presence. I remember Albert Camus said, and it's a great quote, and I'm paraphrasing, make your very existence an act of rebellion. That's a hell of a quote. Because if you're walking in your light, right, in your goodness, you shame those who are full of shit just by your presence. So you're gonna trigger the shit out of people. It's normal. Because you're not coming from a place of arrogance. You're coming from a place of curiosity, wanting to give yourself more self-love, wanting to know the truth, whatever it takes, and doing whatever it takes to get to that truth. And that will make the status quo thinkers, the 3D lockjaw thinkers, hate you. Remember, you know what I mean? Remember that scene in Gladiator when they're eating? He's afraid of eating. Remember Maximus? The movie came out in 2000. And what does he say? He said they have to kill your name before they kill you. And then this other guy, Gladiator, just eats his food, right? And just laughs. And they all laugh. Because they weren't going to poison him. They have to kill your name before they kill you. It's a hollow line. And so be that. If you walk in your integrity, the last thing they want to do is martyr anyone. But they will fear you. And that's what you need. You need that because that shows that you're doing the right thing. You're speaking through your throat chakra. You're a conduit to the divine. You're doing the work of speaking the truth of injustice in all of its faces. I don't care if you're that girl that sat in a tree for almost 700 days to save a tree, and the whole world watched as she lived in that tree. That was an important act of rebellion. Things of that nature. Save the whales, It's not a funny thing. It's a real concern. Trees are our oxygen, and yet, we treat them like, they'll always be there, and that's not true. Just like bees, just like people matter. Every single human being walking on this planet matters, good or bad, for real, as you can tell. So let's continue. Walk forth and announce the gospel of the kingdom. It is through the very power and simplicity of your becoming, that you announce the kingdom that is to come. You bear witness that it is possible to live in surrender to another kind of consciousness and a different mind, and that and that a new being lives within you. You live no more in the thrall of the empire of your past. Did you hear that? The empire of your past. Well, your past lives on various incarnations on this planet, where there were empires that subjugated your voice. So it's no wonder you're having problems with your throat chakra or your root chakra or any chakra for that matter. No wonder, of course. So you will live no more in the thrall of the empire of your past, your unconscious or your social understanding. Your acts will be determined by the most intimate part of your being, that place where nothing is forced, where it is spirit that inspires you, that spirit of whom none can say whence it cometh, nor what it goeth. Though Ontologically, in the language of Yeshua and Mary's time, it comes from the Father and returns to the Father. It is the conscious breath that comes from the unnameable space where inspiration originates and expiration returns. That space without boundaries, which we are sometimes fortunate enough to taste when silence reigns within us. Silence. So this is why pranayama, you'll see yogis, right? You'll see monks and nuns sitting in meditation for hours in silence, listening. And they're toggling between listening to their monkey mind and listening to their soul and listening to divine guidance and controlling the body, the monkey mind who controls the body. The body has a lot of wonderful wisdoms. Don't get it wrong when I say that. But the monkey mind wants to puppet the body to get up off its meditation and wander off into nonsensical activities of distractions. Walk forth and announce the good news of knowledge and teaching that will be needed for this transformation in which human beings can finally begin to become fully human. Keep on walking on this road where you become both more human and more divine. May each day bring you a little less under the sway of the fears, inhibitions, and lies that are certainly the heritage of your individual and collective past, yet in which consciously or unconsciously you still indulge in the present. And may each day bring you more and more surrender to freedom and love, for these are the fruits of your most beautiful dreams and of the purest desire that consciously or unconsciously, but consciously above all, so as to savor it fully, you can ever experience in the present. And then it says here, impose no law other than that which I have witnessed. Do not add more laws to those given in the Torah, lest you become bound by them. What's interesting about laws? It was the law of the land to own slaves. It was the law of the land to prevent women from divorcing or to own land. It was the law of the land that a father figure or a masculine controlled any female in the household. That was the law of the land. There were a lot of laws that were corrupted and honestly disgusting, that are no longer laws. So laws are interesting because laws, if they impose injustice, are now no longer to be honored. In fact, it's your duty not to honor them. There is no horse other than, it says exactly that. There is no horse other than that of the gospel of the kingdom implied in the previous passage. And that is not a ridden horse. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it means, but let's continue. Here we have an echo of resistance of certain early Christian circles to the ecclesiastic decision to limit the canon and its own scriptures, the New Testament, and to recognize the Jewish Bible as the Old Testament. The invocation of the kingdom implies an inward kind of rule, a gospel that arises from inner revelation and not from some outer authority's decision. These reflections of an eminent Dominican scholar pose no problem for us so far, but we cannot accept this subsequent interpretation of this passage as an example of anti-Semitism, or more precisely anti-Judaism, that would be even more radical than that which already exists in the New Testament. So it's interesting how many of our experiences are a mix of these religions, and yet of this ancient religion of Judaism, which had limitations, but also had created. And again, we're still trying to study how Mary of Magdalena and Mother Mary and Anna, how they came, how were they high priestesses in a patriarchal system? How was there divergence on the road? Because they were definitely outlanders. You know what I mean? They were they did not belong to the status quo of patriarchy, of Judaism. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Or was it? Or was it? See, that's what we're all trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out, where did it all begin? At what point did they think it was okay to literally strip Mary Magdalene out of the Bible and to literally remove her importance? And how that impacted the gender wars that happened. Women, I remember as a very young kid hearing that women were sinful. This was still considered a normal thing to say, because of the, Eve eating the apple of knowledge, or the fruit of knowledge. And this is why it's important for us to get to the truth of it. Exactly at which point and who decided that this was a healthy way to proceed, or actually did they feel that this was actually a great way, a narcissistic way to divide and conquer, to triangulate, and to separate permanently for 2,000 years. And once you realize that that was done on purpose for a purpose that was all based on money, power, and control, then when somebody tells you they're a biblical scholar, you got to ask them, are you a religious scholar or biblical? I mean, are you just going to fucking prove the rhetoric, or are you going to prove the truth? Because that's really ultimately, anyone that says I'm a this and that scholar, tagline, whatever religion you want, I have to ask them, are you coming from a place of truth, or are you coming from a place of supporting your rhetoric to make sure that your rhetoric doesn't fall apart? And at which point, game over, because I'm not interested in your bullshit, because your bullshit has promoted a self-loathing, let's be honest, for hundreds of years. I still have visions of monks, visions of kneeling and whipping themselves, scarring their backs. For what purpose? What did that prove? And to think that babies were of sin. So when we ask these questions and we're considered, blasphemous, for asking these questions, we've always asked, trust me, a lot of us kept asking the same questions and we ended up in the stakes or on the rack. Many of us. I remember once my mom was very interested in me getting she wanted me for Christmas, actually, ironically. I said, what do you want? She goes, I love Gregorian chant, records. So I wanted to get her vinyl because I thought it was cool. And so I was trying to figure out what to listen to, what to buy her. And I was in a shop. In those days, you could still put the headphone on and listen to samples. And I wanted to fucking throw up. And I thought I was just dizzy. Maybe I didn't eat. And I put on another Gregorian chant, and again, nausea hit me, and I started spinning. I was dizzy. And I went, hang on, because being an intuitive, I went, hang on, and I put on some other music, like something like Dead Can Dance, completely fucking different, okay? And I was fine. I listened to 3 minutes, went back with the Gregorian chant, and I started getting vertigo. And at that point, it hit me. I had a past life where they were probably chanting while I was being put on the rack. There was no doubt. I was getting sick. We remember. And so though I bought her the album, I didn't fucking listen. I just said, I bought the album, gave it to her, and I told her, please don't fucking put that shit on when I'm home. Don't do it. But you get what I'm saying? That's how the body remembers. I didn't tap into Christian until I recognized the divine feminine. Makes absolute sense. I didn't tap into Christ consciousness until I recognized the divine feminine. Yeah. They stripped us down to bare bones. And in my book, Recall, I talk about it in the first chapter. You'll read it if you buy the book. And I talk about it. I talk about how, and I also blame myself. I say, hypothetically, I could have been one of those bishops, at the Constantine Council of Nicaea, with Constantine not supervising but delegating to strip the book to pieces for the very purpose of controlling women. And anything that subjugates, can you imagine that agenda to strip the power of the female sex? And don't forget, we've been men. And most likely we were those men. And we've come back in the feminine form to right those wrongs. Don't forget that. So it goes all the way back to the oracles of Delphi, which I talked about in a few lives back. You can check it out. I wish I would name my videos a little more, but whatever. I mention it. And so the oracles of Delphi, Greece, right? And I'm going to repeat myself for those who haven't heard it. And they would squat over these fumes that were over, like, I guess, this grotto. And they were psychic, don't get me wrong. They were absolutely psychic, but they would go into altered states of consciousness, and they would be able to, they were famous in divination, and they would speak of what they saw and what was so. In other words, they were tapping into the Akashic records, and speak the truth. And at some point, the masculines of power, the warriors, the kings, the conquerors would come and force them, I'm sure at blade point, saying, look, you're going to tell them whatever the fuck I tell you, and you're going to make it look good. And that's exactly what happened. Is after a while, these women became oracles, but after a while, probably a few hundred years later, it collapsed because people started realizing they were being played. But these women were forced to say, yes, it's been written that he is supposed to be the king of this land. And yes, he's supposed to marry, all that shit was happening. And so for a long, for thousands of years, the high priestess, we went from being revered. Many of you were high priestesses. You might remember it in your heart. You might remember it in your dreams. You might remember it just in me hearing me say it. But we were revered. Many of us who are attracted to this ancient wisdom have been high priestesses and high priests, druids and druidesses, and so forth, in many incarnations. We weren't so interested in being kings and conquerors. That wasn't really, were we here and there? Probably, but for the most part, we were more into the we wanted to part the many veils, and we wanted to see deeper into truths. And it got to a point where, we were blocked by, as the church took its power, right? And muzzled us across the world and hunted us down like dogs until none of us were left. And to be a thinker like this, a thinker tapping into ancient wisdoms and piercing through the veils, was a dangerous desire. So when you have issues of speaking your truth, or when you shake, or when you tremble, or when you're not sure, or when you think you're not ready, it comes from that part of your subconscious memory. Your soul remembers it. You have some scars of those experiences that are very traumatic. And so silence and spending a lot of time in nature and connecting is going to be very important for you in 2025 for high direction, especially as they play little games with the sky. Now we're calling them Dior bags, and we're being forced to speak in code words. Is it no wonder the Essenes took ancient scrolls like the Dead Sea Scrolls, Gospel of Mary, Gospel of Thomas, other Gospels I don't remember, to be honest, and they threw them in jars and sealed them and hid them in caves? It's no different than today. We're speaking in codes. We're calling shit in the sky Dior bags. We're calling the plasmic consciousness floating in the sky, what do they call it? Oscar de Laurenti? Shit like that. That's insane. It's no different than what happened around 2200 years ago. No different. We're back to that. However, the difference is that we are united across the globe. As before that, you might have had 10 Essenes, Gnostics running around, just 10, if that many, trying to protect ancient wisdoms and the pillage of Alexandria Library and the bastardization of those truths. It's fucked up, but. And the argument that the Emerald Tablet is not real. No one's ever seen it. Instead of realizing that the Emerald Tablets would have been in the Akashic records. It's funny how we believe in downloading all kinds of shit. There's psychics today, okay? Because everyone's different, and I would never do this. It takes incredible strength to do this. But there are psychics today who work with detectives and the FBI to find people. You know that, and you know that. And you know that the alphabet channel of the government, high levels, you know that, those covert little alphabet people, use psychics for covert operations. You know this too. You know that. So when people say the Emerald Tablet didn't exist, for example, it was never, I say bullshit, because a lot of the stuff is in the Akashic records. This is how psychics find people. This is how they know somebody's no longer in the physical 3D world, that they're gone, and then they find their remains. This is how they do it, my friends. So because things are unseen, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And the concept of reality is really something that many of us individually and collectively we have to discuss and master. So one of the books I've been reading on creativity of thinking is David Icke's Dream, his book Dream, which I'm listening to. And he has a whole chapter on reality. I mean, and again, I read to you Mind Power to the 21st Century, which is in my YouTube channel, and of the holographic universe. And science agrees, today's science agrees on the holographic universe, and what that implies and infers to our reasoning of reality. And reality keeps changing as our consciousness individually and collectively awakens. It's quite interesting, don't you think? So when things are now becoming visually apparent in the sky, right? Strange signs in the sky. We all thought it was chemtrails, but apparently not. This is it. It's happening as we speak. And people are running around trying to figure it out. And again, warning to you all, there are many people using this to get lives, followers, and they're wrapping bullshit and speaking lies to get more attention. And that's fucked up. They're saying that the conscious plasmic beings are turning into DRONES, and that's a lie. That's not what's happening, because I'm seeing what's happening. And I'm not seeing that at all. I'm seeing completely separate activities going on in the sky. They're completely separate. And one is holding sacred space with us, for us, as we awaken as individual and as a collective beings into our light. And the DRONES are actually watching it, trying to figure out how to control, and they can't. You can't control energy, period. Good luck in trying to catch oxygen in your bottle. Good luck. Good luck in lassoing a star. Good luck. So there are limitations there you're actually seeing in the sky. Limitations and boundless infinite power that cannot be controlled, subjugated, or muzzled, which is interesting, because that energy is what's in you, in your physical body. What you're seeing in the sky as a plasmic consciousness is what you have individually in your body, which means, and this is really going to be a journey for us, it implies, if that is true, right? If I'm correct, let's just say, and sit with that. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's true for you. But if that kind of energy is within the temple called this 3D body, right, where we've got it wrapped around this form that is called Joe, Daniel, and Leslie, whatever, right? That form that is called Joe, Daniel, and Leslie, whatever, right? That form that is called Joe, Daniel, and Leslie, whatever, right? That implies that we. Sorry, it was my alarm clock. Our power is infinite. So if our power is infinite, then that means that we can do whatever we want to do. And the trick is to make sure we do it from a place of egoless, non-desire to harm or to outdo another sentient being. We use this incredible power for ourselves, of course, for our own growth and our own joy and our own abundance, but we also use it to ignite others around us to their own power. And that's probably where we need to like start having these discussions of nature of reality. What are we made of? What are we really made of? Because we tend to look, and this is again why I tell people to read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, because he breaks it down again and again. He breaks down this idea of who are you? Who are you? And this idea that to believe that what you see in the mirror and your name on your birth certificate and all that is really who you are is no, that's who you are in this incarnation. But that's about it. And we've had many of us, and the Vedas talk about it, we've had over 8 million incarnations. That's the number that's talked about in ancient wisdom. Minimum 8. So what does that say to you? And so this feeling of homesickness that we have is, of course, understandable. There are homes we will never be able to return to. My guy, I'm sure you're homesick. You're probably homesick over your a really good Christmas that you might have had with your family, a particular Christmas that was particularly perfect. You can never go back to that, just like you can never go back to a home in one of your incarnations. And then you feel the longing of that place. And there are many places like that across these incarnations on this planet and many other planets. So, of course, there's this melancholy that follows us in these incarnations, this feeling, a pull, a feeling this is not quite home. And the irony is when you drop your body, some of the aspects of this incarnation you had, some of the moments, some of the places you absolutely adored, you'll feel homesick for, believe it or not. So this is why the power of now is so important. Be Here Now, which is a book that apparently has gone viral. Ram Dass wrote called Be Here Now, and I urge you to buy copies from the 1970s. Why? Because the paper is going to be different, the ink is going to be different, the energy is going to be different. It's going to be more related to the energy of the time when it was written. That's why vintage books are so amazing. They feel different than books today. The ink today is not even what the ink was then. In those days, it was real ink. So these little subtle things are the beautiful earthly pleasures of being a human being on this planet. The feel of the wind, the smells. It's amazing. So I'm going to pull some oracle cards for you, and we're going to see where we're at. Most of my dreams happen in my childhood house. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow, that's amazing. You must have had a good time, a good childhood. Let's continue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out an oracle card from the Kali deck. I did this yesterday, and I'm feeling really good about these decks. They're coming out with some amazing messages for you guys, and so let's do it. I agree with the vintage books and energy they hold. Absolutely, there's something about when me and my the father of my son were very young. We would spend hours in vintage bookstores. Hours. I'm not joking. And we loved ancient books. In fact, I have books from the 1800s. There was a place, I'll never forget, in Pasadena, California, that had books from, they were called vellums because they were made of skin of animals, I kid you not. And very, very thinly done, obviously. And they were from the 1700s, and there were books by Voltaire, the French philosopher Voltaire, and I was sick. I couldn't afford them. They were each $20, but it was very dear for us at that point. We didn't have that kind of money, but they were sitting on those tables, and they were being bought not to read, but to make a library look good. It was sickening to see that. But these books, when you touched the pages and we saw the lettering, the type of lettering used and the ink used, I don't know, it threw you back. It was like it was like touching something, like, how somebody gives you an item and you hold it and you get all this explosion of images and energy from that item that they give you. Well, that's how it felt with those books. All right, so let's go. Hey, Andromeda, you're here. Do you want to come onto this live if you want? You're welcome. Let me know. All right, let's look. Middle. All right, so the card is 44, Bhavataraini. Now, 44 is 2024. 44 is 8. And 8 is an intense number. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm being told to read it to you. And this is from the book by Linda Goodman called Star signs. It's a book of numerology that I've been reading since 1994. It is the best book in numerology ever written. And I'm going to read to you what 8 means, because this year was 8. We lived 8. She's doing housework. No worries. Okay, so let me read 8 to you verbatim. Hang on for a quick second. All right, let's do it. Listen to this. The 4, she's talking about the number 4 and the number 8. These are known especially when combined as the numbers of fate and the numbers of karma, and hard luck seems to pursue those whose lives are dominated by the 4 and the 8. When the 4 or the 8 is the single number of the day of birth, such as the 4th, 8th, 13th, 17th, 22nd, 26th, or 31st, the number has been chosen by the person it represents in the wiser state of grace between incarnations. The higher self, soul, or spirit, realizing that there are heavy karmic debts to be balanced, which have been delayed or procrastinated for too many lifetimes, chooses the magnetic birth channel of the 4 or 8 to ensure that these long overdue karmic obligations are faced and finally neutralized. On the level of our awareness between incarnations, the full import of the karmic chain is comprehended. It is somewhat analogous for the decision of a student who has continually postponed study for exams or a test, and as the deadline draws near, recognizes that it's time to get serious and make up for the procrastination. No more fun weekends, no more stalling or goofing off. It's cram time. Time for extra hard study and attention to scholastic obligations. Naturally, one can't avoid the 4 or 8 vibration as a birth number, nor should one be able to, since the 4 or 8 guarantees that the person influenced by it will be placed involuntarily in specific situations where particular karma will be balanced in the present existence. Do you understand? This year kicked our ass, and it was not something we could avoid. Does that make sense? So now that I've read that, I don't want to read the rest because it's a lot. But suffice it to say, you get the gist, right? It's not a joke. All right, so the number 44, which was the point of this, let me read you what it says in terms of this year, because it's talking about what we've gone through. That's obvious to me. She wants to give us a message of what we are walking out of. And 9 is a power number. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so let me read it. Right? Okay, let's do it. 44, Bhava Tarini. The tantric priestess of karmic release manifests with the capacity to integrate higher divine energy into event, the most stubborn patterning that has so far resisted healing. When momentum is building and you don't know how to stop fueling the fire or reverse the damage, she appears. Her presence indicates that this is a powerful time for spiritual work and healing practice. She will support the work, and much growth can come from it, particularly at this time. No matter how wild they may seem, the storms of your life shall be gentle and you shall emerge unharmed. No matter what, you're going to be unharmed. No matter what. Okay, let's continue. Goddess Kali as Bhava Tarini is the tantric priestess of karmic release and spiritual blessing. She liberates devotees from karmic struggles, especially those who keep repeating the same patterns with different players. Did you notice? Okay. I'll give you examples later. Okay. Her presence in a reading implies the Divine Mother's blessings of a divine disruption. Sometimes the jolt of the disruption is such a shock that is temporarily unpleasant, and we feel, therefore, that it is unwanted or harmful. However, once we allow the workings of such disruptions to realign our affairs, we will come to realize and be grateful for what is taking place. We will see it as a saving grace rather than something we had to endure. The oracle predicts the ceasing of restrictive or negative influences. Ma is adorned with flowers in recognition that she is celebrating sharing puja, unlike the fierce Kali, who is adorned in fearsome places in the dead of night. The kind Bhava Tarini is adored in celebration of the light. The puja, or sacred ritual, can be very simple. In its most basic form, it is a call for the divine ones to manifest on earth. It is a creation of light and has a cleansing effect on those doing the puja. And if the intention and receptivity are strong enough on the surrounding people and areas. Bhavatarini teaches that our spiritual activities can have a positive influence more so than we think is possible. In a reading, Bhavatarini foretells of a profoundly positive and expansive energy that will become available to us if we're willing to open our hearts to her. 2025 is a crossroad moment. December 31st, you need to embrace New Earth and not embrace revolution. Does that make sense? The revolution is really within your own monkey mind. It is an exorcism of the parasitical monkey mind and allowing the divinity of your soul to take the reins moving forward from 2025 onward into the power of now co-creation. Okay? Hang on, let me think. She also reminds us that we don't have to wait until things become severe to call on the Divine Mother's assistance. Why not call for her daily, not only to resolve issues, but to prevent them from gaining traction in the first place? If we align ourselves with such simple and happiness-inducing wisdoms, our lives can become peaceful and free from unnecessary drama. Bhava Tarani can take the form of Kali, Pala Tarani, to destroy the results of our actions. Phala means fruit, and Harini means a female who takes something away. So Phala Harini means the woman who takes away the fruit of our actions. I must pronounce it. So it's Phala Harini. And Phala is spelled Phala. Phala means fruit. Harini, Harini, means a female who takes something away. So Phala Harini means the woman who takes away the fruit of our actions. This means that she can conquer our karma. Kali, Phala Harini, can cleanse our samskaras. Remember I told you about those impressions that clings to us? The trauma of all these incarnations, that's called samskaras. Our mental psychic imprints. These are the familiar grooves that keep the soul repeating patterns lifetime after lifetime. They are comprised of habitual ways of thinking and behaving that prevent us from evoking into something new and more suitable. They are the karma of stuckness, limiting our freedom, creativity, and expression. Some scars can be negative in quality, such as inhuman compulsion towards perfection, aka you comparing yourselves to other people. But they can be something we consider positive, such as repeated attraction towards being a healer. Yeah, we do. We've been coming back, trying to become our truest self. And for many of us, we gain great pleasure in healing others, not from an egoic place, but from a place of service, of deep, humble service to humanity. And no, it's not a Miss America speech. It's for real. Although being a healer can generate spiritual benefit if we identify with it, it can undermine our freedom to grow spiritually. It can become overly restrictive, even lead to suppression of aspects of our authentic being that don't readily fit in with the healer archetype. So you have to be honest, because some of us are healers. We're also art. In other words, the face of healing isn't always in your face. Oh, I'm a Reiki healer. You could be an attorney and be a healer. There's an attorney right now. I know you guys know who I'm talking about. It's the guy that talks about divorces and money. He's rich. And he talks about the woman who could not afford a good attorney. And he started crying. His exposure and his incredible nakedness and talking about divorce and money and greed and sex and desire and all of that. He's actually he's a healer. So healing has many faces. I love that guy too. I adore him. I adore him because he understands what it takes to keep a marriage together. It looks like he has a good relationship. But healing, right? You don't need to fit into the healing archetype to be a light bringer on this planet. This is again something that collides with what is being sold. You don't have to wear a Buddha bun. You don't have to wear yoga pants. You don't have to wear a bindi between your eyebrows. Do I do it? Yes, because I like to. And frankly, I haven't done it since my twin and I were in Malibu, to be honest. Because it was a beach, this, that, it was cool, it felt good to me. But you don't have to be, right? And if you look at Joe Dispenza, Michael Newton, Michael Singer, none of them are doing Buddha clothes, okay? None of them were. That's not to denigrate the actual monks out there who are really, like, for example, Thich Nhat Hanh. God bless his soul. What an incredible healer. It's to say, it's not a role you have to dress up for. That's my point. You know what I mean? Okay. In the example of a healer, the Divine Mother recognizes the goodness in your heart and your genuine desire to assist, yet she will do what is necessary to protect your spiritual awakening and free you from your attachments. Yes, even the attachments of helping others. This doesn't mean that you no longer want to be a healer or that you're blocked from doing so. It means you will not be able to prop up self-value using external roles. Ultimately, this is a gift. But it is a lesson that many healers find painful in the beginning. They need to learn how to offer their heartfelt work and not be attached to how it is received. This is why, just so you know, this is why you can't give a fuck what people think. And this is why I do pre-calls on potential clients to make sure that we're both a fit. I'm a fit for them, they're a fit for me. So there is no attachment of bullshit. There's no attachment. It's like both me and them agree that this is a journey for their highest good. And if there's any doubt, then it's not a match. Does that make sense? If there's any doubt to going full force in, then I'm not their person. And they're better off with somebody who is going to give them what they need. And sometimes illusions is what people sometimes need. I'm not joking. For a while, hopefully eventually they wake up from that. But it is what it is. It's interesting. So let me catch up. Hang on for a quick second. Let me see. The challenge is not to identify with what is happening and make the divine grace about their own ego. If the ego is failing these lessons and getting caught up in feeling superior or inferior, then the Divine Mother will intervene. Yeah, inferior feelings and superior feelings are both toxic. They're not good for you. The middle path is healthy humility. I am a conduit. I'm not a healer. I'm a healing facilitator. It is not, I have gifts. It is, I have skill sets. Skill sets I remember from past lives, or skill sets that were handed to me before I came into this incarnation. Here's that. It's almost like they're going, check. You got the psychic? Yeah, got it. You got, okay, now, do you have somatic understanding of what you're feeling? Yeah, got it. Do you have self-belief? Not really. Well, okay, we'll give it to you when you're 33. Got it. Do you get how this works? This is why I have a knee jerk when I hear, my gifts, my gifts, my gifts. I have a massive knee jerk because it feeds the ego. It's skill sets. And they may be what you've always had, or they may be temporary for this particular incarnation. Skill sets of, I'm a mathematician in this incarnation. Skill sets of, I am an OBGYN that rocks. Skill sets of, I'm an incredible litigator in the courtroom. Skill sets for this incarnation. Does that make sense? The lesson is that you can relish the roles you play in your life without allowing them to define you. Did you hear that? I think we need to slow down. Lean in, my beautiful friend. Lean in. The lesson is that you can relish the roles you play in your life without allowing them to define you. Wow. You are asked to take care that you don't restrict yourself to the roles you play. Embrace the spiritual freedom and unconditional love necessary to be your full, authentic being. You are asked to bear the discomfort of no longer relying on certain familiar patterns to give you validation. This will open you up to greater self-realization, self-possession, and joyful freedom to be your whole, authentic self. You are on the cusp of a beautiful breakthrough into a more positive era. To amplify her blessing, open your heart to the unfamiliar. Write it down. Open your heart to the unfamiliar. You should write it down. Open your heart to the unfamiliar. And the unfamiliar, ironically, may I add, is familiar in other incarnations. That's why you're attracted to it. You're attracted to it because you've seen it or you've lived it. That's the beauty of these incarnations, because all of these incarnations that we have, we've taken bits of these pieces with us. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could take all of these pieces and magnify it for the benefit of ourselves, our family, the bloodline that we're healing, right? Family lineages, 7 generations back and 7 generations forward is what the wise ones talk about. And it's just about being fearless in your self-excavation and being sick of playing it small, being sick of it. I mean, like, done. I'm not playing small anymore. I don't care if I make people uncomfortable. I don't. And the thing is, there are people who are timid, right? There's a client I'm thinking of right now who's very, very timid. Very, very, I mean, like, you can't get more timid than this. And yet she's incredibly powerful. And her timidity, it's almost like she put herself in jail and locked the cage and then threw the key far, far away. She can't even reach it. For whatever reason. For whatever reason that is for her. So look at what it is for you. What is it about you that makes you uncomfortable in making others uncomfortable as you grow? Making them uncomfortable should actually be the catalyst for their own awakening, believe it or not. Because now the earth shakes beneath their feet because of your own ability to embrace what is emerging out of you, due to the fact that now you're saying to yourself, you know what, I'm done. I need to be honest with what I want to experience in this incarnation. And if I don't do what I was incarnated to do, when I drop my body, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be pissed off. And here we go back into the karmic number of 8 or 4. 8 being really the number. You know what I mean? So it's always really allowing your heart chakra, the seat of your soul, to propel you into the unfamiliar. Once you trust that within yourself, you'll actually start enjoying the magic of the unfamiliar more and more. In fact, you'll realize that if you're not in a state of a little bit of discomfort, that you're actually not pushing yourself in the right direction. You know what I mean? All right, let me get another card. And this one's going to be from the Blue Angel Oracle by Tony Carmen Salerno. And we're going to pull a card from there. And I'm picking the cards now because it feels, feels like we're in this. The real skill is allowing them to embrace their discomfort and feel safe being uncomfortable with you. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I the thing is, yeah. The thing is to be, you have to be, let me put it that way. My teachers, the people I have worked with for my own evolution, and it continues, it's an ongoing journey way after I drop my body, are people who won't kiss my ass. Those are the people I go with. They won't kiss my ass. They have incredible generosity of heart, but they will never kiss my ass. And those are the people I go with, because I don't want somebody who's going to tell me what I need to hear. But they also need to be more, how do I put this without saying, they need to be on the same footing as me, or definitely above me. I definitely want them to know more than me, okay? It's kind of like going to a psychologist. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but I have, where I knew more than the psychologist. In other words, I was sitting back going, oh, fuck. So there were 2 psychologists I highly respected who were amazing. One was a woman and the other one was a man. The man had done ayahuasca a few times, and he ran a man's group. And in fact, he was in upstate New York, in Schenectady. He was amazing. And I thought he was amazing because he did not kiss my butt. He was all about truth and transparency and brutal honesty. In a very, and he delivered it beautifully. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he wasn't banging on my head, but he had compassion, a massive amount of compassion. But he did not, lying by omission was not his thing. The real skill, anyway. So does that make sense? So let me continue. Let's get a card out. All right, card out. You won't believe it. Wings of Light 27, which is 9. 9. So we're leaving 8, right, which is 2024, and we're going into the number 9, which is Wing of Light, and it looks like a Mother Mary image, believe it or not. 27 is a powerful number. It actually connects to the scepter. And this is a very short little paragraph, and I'll read it to you. Positive news. A positive result or a joyful message arrives on and brightens your day. Once you receive it, you may want to pause for a moment to reflect on the people and things that matter most to you. Thank the universe for these gifts of love, family, friends, community, country, world, universe. Is it not all important? Is it not all blessings? The universe is inside you, for you are the luminous essence from which all stems. Let us give thanks for this eternal blessings and great mystery. It's a beautiful card. Absolutely gorgeous. This actually can't up on the pattern for me today. Great synchronicity. I need to be more comfortable with making others uncomfortable. You have to. And I come off, I know I come off very intense, very rough sometimes, but when I'm with clients one-to-one, I'm not rough at all. But I'm rough here. Here's why. Because most people need a kick in the ass. I'm sorry. Most people will play the kumbaya, Barbie and Ken's little, tarot reading bullshit. And I'm not into that at all. We're not here to kick rocks one more fucking incarnation. This is not the age of darkness. This is the age of enlightenment for a reason. And so the ascension that's been promised for a minimum of 2,000 years, if not longer, is upon us. And we have to grab the opportunity that's been given to us. And we were given the opportunity to incarnate, to be here at this timeline. Not later, I'm sure some of us will come back when the planet has been fully gridded into 5D, 6D consciousness. Many of us will come back. Trust me, and you'll want to, because you'll remember. You'll have a melancholy. You'll remember. You'll be homesick. You'll remember what it was like to be on this planet. How beautiful it was. How beautiful it is. And it'll be even more beautiful in 560, because the damage that has been done on this planet would have been repaired by the new caretakers of the planet. The meek shall inherit the earth. The peace-loving people who don't want bullshit anymore, who refuse it, who do not consent, who are co-creating with their minds, their meditations, their daily practices of writing down their intentions and what they see and what they want to visualize and what they want to manifest. All that is happening. I'm one of them. You're one of them. Many of you are doing the work for the planet. You guys are the grid keepers, the holders of the sacred light of the ascension. And many of us are fractals of a Yeshua. In fact, most of us who are in the light are fractals of that light. Why? Because we were given that light as temporary keepers of that light. Does that make sense? And the batons will be passed to the next generation, so forth. When we drop our bodies, we will continue on to other adventures and experiences, while the new ones will come to carry this light forth to really, take care of this planet and its inhabitants. And eventually, I'm going to tell you the truth, and you may not like it, and I'm sorry, but again, I'm not here to kiss your ass. This planet will eventually become a vegetarian planet. And I'm saying this not because to trigger you, to shame you, but to say that at some point we will be more strong, more powerful. Trees will be everywhere. We will have an abundance of oxygen, an abundance of fruits and nuts and things of that nature. And there'll be enough for everyone, and we will no longer make the choice to eat in that way anymore. It will no longer be part of our consciousness. I mean, shit, doesn't that make sense? I mean, why would anybody fucking fight that one? I don't understand why anyone would fight it. Why not lean into it? And that's important. That also is important. There are planets where we don't eat, as you well know, and I know you know that. We don't eat in those planets at all. There's no need for feces. There's no need for, sweat. There's no need for eating. Okay? And so why would that be so hard? So, again, I go back to the wisdoms of the shamans who, right before you're going to take ayahuasca, what do they say to you? Don't eat meat for 2 weeks. Don't do sex. Don't do drugs. Don't drink alcohol. Don't do any of that shit. Don't even take your pills. Graham Hancock talked about how Unfortunately, he didn't listen to ayahuasca when she kept telling him, stop smoking pot, stop smoking. And by the way, I'm not telling you to stop smoking pot. I'm telling you what she was saying to Graham Hancock. She said to him, stop smoking pot. Every time he did the medicine, and he would not listen. I think it took 20 sessions. And then, unfortunately, he started having seizures. Grand seizures. In one seizure, it was so bad he was in a coma for like something like either 48 or 72 hours. I forget. But I remember him saying, I was in limbo in a black room and I could not move, fully aware. Can you imagine that fucking nightmare? So, of course, suddenly he stopped. At that point, he stopped smoking. But now he was on anti-seizure medication. So when he goes to see ayahuasca, he has to be off it, which I thought was fucking tricky, because how many times do you need to see ayahuasca? And by that time, he had done it 40 times. There's a point, in my opinion, I love that man. Don't get me wrong. He's a brilliant man. But there's a point where how much fucking medicine do you need before you get the clue? How many times do you need to take this stuff before enough is enough? And again, I'm not judging him in that way, but I am asking that question to anyone who keeps doing it again and again. You know? And so that's the question. Oh, here we go again with now they've restricted my audience, because God forbid young people out there should actually understand the danger of overdoing anything. Let's just keep it to the adults. That's interesting. Okay. Anyway, any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Any last words? I am going to take some cards out. My last little foray. Oh, FF. Anyway, let me go ahead and I'm going to pull out last 3 cards. And these cards are from the Unshakable, what the hell is it called? Unshakable Inner Peace Oracle. And 3 cards fell, and I'm gonna read them. No, 4. Okay, I'm gonna read them all to you. I'm gonna give you the numbers because the numbers matter. Okay. All right. The first card that fell was 11. 11 is a very tough number. It's a very tough life path number. It's called the muzzled lion. It's a lion that's muzzled, that doesn't speak its truth, walk its truth, live its truth, or it is issues that go on in its life that it needs to overcome and stand its power. All life path numbers can be neutralized, obviously. So 11, everything is a reflection. Hold up the energetic mirror. What do you need in your life that you're not currently getting? Okay, that was good. Next card, 22. Well, we just kind of understand 22 is a karmic number of taking on karma. Let's continue. This is not your practice life. Decide. Did you hear that? This is not your practice life. Decide. What is your inner voice telling you about the dream in your heart? Beautiful card. Next card, 9. Here we go with 9 again. 9 again. These are really amazing messages for you guys. 9. Express yourself creatively. Start something new. What creative pursuit do you feel drawn to? Beautiful. Last card, 17. 17 is the star of the Magi. In tarot, it is the star. Wish upon a star, healing energy. It's also 1 + 7 is 8. It's what we're living right now. The vibration of 2024 being 8. Trust your faith. Dive into the unfolding journey. What is your faith asking of you? What is your faith asking of you? Trust your faith. Dive into the unfolding journey. Beautiful messages. I want to thank you all for being here. It was fun. I hope that you have a great day. It's sunny where I live, and I'm going to get my ass together, get dressed, go out and do something. Like take a walk, whatever. And be in the, I don't know how many degrees it's out here, but it's definitely in the low numbers. But there's snow everywhere, and it's beautiful. And we are so lucky to be alive in this particular timeline. All your mistakes, all your triumphs, everything, all your regrets, all your prideful moments, all of these things are what made you today. So just be gratitude for all of it. Repair what you can, forgive what you can't. All right? Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste, be well. Yay, Beth. All right, see you. Namaste.